for your patience. And welcome back, or welcome for the first time to our 2017-18 school year. So we got here really early, we set everything up, and then you all got in and jumped on the Wi-Fi network. And now we're struggling mightily to get everything connected, but that's okay, we'll make it work. To get us started this morning, I'd like to, and I'm hoping, I haven't seen the choir yet this morning, so I'm hoping they're hiding somewhere ready to come and sing the national anthem for us. So CHS Choir, Mr. Chesson, are you ready? I was back. I didn't see them, so it looks like Mr. Morris is going to run back and get them. This is a smooth start. Oh, say So as we're waiting for the national anthem, I want to introduce two of our board members that are here today, Doug Quinn and Tracy Malone. We are very fortunate to have an amazing school board that works very hard for us, that's always focused on what we can do for our students and families, very supportive of our staff, gives so much time. And this is Tracy's first back to school as she was elected or chosen as the interim board member back in January. So welcome, Tracy. Usually they're a little smoother start, but did you find them, Mr. Morris? They're coming, okay. So the other thing that I want to talk about before we start the national anthem is this year, the back to school get together here, the kickoff is going to be a little different. We've actually employed some students to help us out, and so I know that you were really looking forward to seeing me dancing, and you already heard me sing a little bit, but actually this year we're really excited to have Mr. Kelly and the CHS drama team present for us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Chesson and our choir for the national anthem. Well, that was well worth the wait. And magically my computer rebooted during the national anthem. As you came in this morning, we had students from all of our schools here greeting you. I heard that they wanted to give you multiple postcards as you came in. I would like to invite them up to the stage if you guys could come up and introduce yourselves, our student representatives.
We'd like to welcome all of you to the staff to the 2017-18 school year. I'm Lincoln and I am a 5th grader at Dorothy Fox, and thank you for serving our students.
Hi, I'm Paige McCullough and I'm going into 5th grade and I go to Lockness Heights Elementary. My name is Erica Wood. I'm going into 7th grade and I'm from Odyssey Middle School. My name is Daphne Henyon from Prune Hill Elementary and I'm going into 5th grade. My name is Justice Shamara. I'm in the 5th grade and I'm going to Prune Hill Elementary. My name is Cole Butler. I'm from Helen Ballard. I'm going into 4th grade. Violet Chase and I'm from Dorothy Fox and I'm going into 2nd grade. Hi, I am Lexi Frost. I'm going into 5th grade and I'm from Helen Ballard.
Hi, I'm Mallory Schmidt and I'll be a sophomore here at Camas High. Hi, I'm Darian Holmes and I'll be a junior at Hayes Freedom High School. Hi, I'm Maddie Lang and I'll be a senior at Hayes Freedom High School.
My name is Reese Strong. I'm going into 5th grade at Grass Valley Elementary. My name is Kai Davis and I'm going into 5th grade at Grass Valley. My name is Jeff Johnson and I'm going into 5th grade at Grass Valley Elementary.
My name is Gage. I'm going into 4th grade at Woodburn Elementary.
My name is Emma Spear. I'm going into 8th grade at Skyward Middle School.
My name is Drew Triplett and I'm going into 8th grade at Skyward Middle School.
My name is Ty Boyer. I'm going to 8th grade at Odyssey Middle School.
My name is Lauren Cox and I'm going into 8th grade at Liberty Middle School. My name is Sydney Moldstrom and I'm going into 8th grade at Liberty Middle School. Thank you for serving our students.
All right. Thank you guys. We give them one big round of applause. I can't think of a better way to start our year, right? So, welcome. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your patience at the beginning. I wonder if we could turn the house lights on just a little bit. I wanted to start by welcoming all of our new staff. And so if you're new to our district this year, could you please stand up? Now, you saw who stood. Please take the next minute or so if you're around those people to introduce yourself. So just extend yourself. Hi, I'm so-and-so. Let's make sure that at least those people get to meet at least 1 or 2 new people. joining us. And we've had an opportunity to work with our new teachers. New certificated employees had their training last week. And Mark Gardner and Marilyn Burke and the talent development team did a tremendous job of orienting them to the district and telling them about the amazing work that they'll get to do alongside of us. As you know, one of the things that we've been really working hard to do is to capture the voice of our community, to capture the voice of staff, to teachers, students, and just our parents and the community that we serve. And so the last several years we've been doing a survey exchange called the Thought Exchange. And many of you, I hope, participated in that. And it asks a series of questions, and it's always a little nerve-wracking when the first question that you ask is, what are your concerns? But that's what we ask. And then we ask about what do you appreciate, and what are your ideas. And I just wanted to share briefly a summary of what our community said last spring. And in terms of appreciation, and this has been consistent throughout, whenever we ask our community, teachers and staff are the #1 things that they appreciate. And so our district is you. Whenever I hear people say the district, I'm always surprised about that, the district, because it is us. And what you do every day for families is huge. When they talk about things for concerns, there are things that I probably wouldn't guess would surprise you. Concerns around our community growth, concerns around our students and their well-being, not just academics, in fact, more so social-emotional than academics, and just concerns about what does education look like as we move forward? How do we continue to engage students? Emerging things continued on to that trend of what does learning look like in the future. I think we're all seeing a world that's moving very fast, and so how do we help our students keep up with that, and how do we help them also slow down with that and focus on what's important? And also this idea that every student matters, and that diversity and inequality, I don't like the way those themes came out, because really it's just recognizing each student, and that's our theme, seeing and serving each student. With each year that we start, there's always great opportunities. Each year is very similar and unique in the same way. And the #1 opportunity and challenge that we have is always thinking about the students that are going to be coming to us each day. And specifically next Tuesday, for the first time, how do we engage them? How do we create an experience that's rich, that's supportive, that's challenging? We also have in our state a new funding model. And so, at the last minute, the legislature did pass an operating budget, and there's changes. And so there's lots of questions with that. Everybody's trying to figure that out. And in the next couple of years, we have the opportunity to figure that out. Also, trying to figure out where the federal government lies on public education. And I'm sure you've seen that there's differences, there's changes around that. And so those are resulting in funding changes and also opportunities around choice for schools. What our legislator didn't accomplish this year was pass a capital budget, which is really challenging for our community because we had $13.44 million in approved state matching funds. So anytime that we go out for a bond, if we have students, if we're over capacity, then we qualify for matching funds from the state. But because they haven't passed that budget, we haven't received those funds. And so that's a bit of a challenge. And really what it means right now is we're delaying some of the projects at the end of our bond until we can figure out if we're going to get that money and when we get it. And then finally, that piece that you saw from the community is this idea of growth. And growth from a number standpoint, when we drive around our community and we see the construction, and also just the growth of us as professionals supporting our students. What do we need to do to help us be prepared for our students of today and tomorrow? So the way we do that, and when you came in, you had the students gave you a postcard and talked about seeing and serving each student. And we've talked a lot in our sessions with our administrators about aligning our systems. And we spent a lot of time with a Slinky, with our ad council, just thinking about alignment and trying to get that, everything that we do to be focused in a similar direction so that our energies can really affect students. And that's been a really important thing for us over time. I know that in the world and sometimes in our jobs, it can feel really daunting. And I know just this week when I look at images like this, of Houston, and I try to think of like, what would I do if I was in that situation? Where would I even begin? How do I help? And I know that these kinds of tragedies definitely can lead to a feeling of paralysis. But that also can happen in our classrooms when we don't really know how to serve a family, or there's a student that's really struggling and we're out of options. We feel like we're out of options. And so our challenge as we continue to move forward is to think about, instead of just feeling that sense of paralysis, that, you know, what can I do against floodwaters? I can do something, right? And that's kind of our mantra of this small test of change. Something that I learned from Mark over and over again. Just, we're going to try something, and we're going to evaluate how it works. We're going to get better because we're trying something, and in the result, we're going to serve students better. So I had everybody stand that was new when we began this, and I wanted to kind of take you through a little bit of history when we, with our back to school presentations. And I started with 2012 because when I was looking at some data this year, it was surprising to me that 2/3 of our certificated staff is new since 2012. And just think about that. You know, that's a lot of people that are new. And so I am just barely below the 2012. I'm a long time veteran. But you know, we define every year what the Camas Way is. And I've heard a lot of people talk about the Camas Way from a historical context, and it's an amazing thing that we have. A strong history of service, a strong history of our community that supports our school. But the reality is that we're redefining what the Camas Way is every day. And our staff, and you guys have come on, and I challenged our new teachers, we welcome your perspective on things. We want you to look differently at our system and help us grow. Back in 2012, our theme was one student at a time. We were really trying to dial in and get away from some of that AYP, you know, all the testing kinds of stuff, and really focus on each student's experience. The next year, TPEP had launched, and so we went around and we talked at schools about why do you choose to do public education. And we had a graphic that had all the students' names on it, and if you were in our district at that time, you may recall that I asked you to crumple up that piece of paper and hold on tight to it, because the reason that we do what we do were all those names on that list. When we came back together, we talked about holding on to each other as we go through this journey and holding on to our students. The next year, again, we were focused on thinking about the individual student and their growth. This is when student growth really started to come out in our evaluation process, and we were learning about how do we show evidence of student growth. And there were certainly numbers that we could use, but we really tried to challenge ourselves to think differently and beyond just numbers, to really bring students to life and see the color in them. And you may recall, I shared one of my favorite students in the district, Micah, and his story of growth, and how that would never show up on a test score, although as a parent, his growth inspires me every day. The next year, we talked about caring, quality, and growth. We did a strategic planning process where we engaged our community and really focused on what they wanted to see in their students. And I went around and interviewed people about caring, quality, and growth. And when I was looking back at that, I just felt like, if it plays, I don't know if it will, it was really important to hear wisdom from Larry again. And if you don't know Larry, Larry was a transportation bus driver, and he retired a couple of years ago. Longtime Camas resident, just an amazing guy. And so let him talk. Maybe.
I think about that very much. I just know that when I moved here in 1955, there was 2,500 people between Camas and Washougal. That's all we had. So I've seen some growth, and I'm kind of selfish about that. I'm pretty nostalgic about it. I feel like the growth is outrunning, and I'm still trying to live back in the old days when it wasn't quite so many of us. And really, we're still a small town. In fact, I hear that a lot. But we're a small town, and people know each other. I hear that a lot, and I like that. So we still have a small town flavor, and that's kind of makes it hard to think of where we're going to go when we grow, but growth is enjoyable. I mean, look at the stadium we have now, and look at the school district, how much it's grown. And there's one thing that I've experienced over the years when it comes to growth, one of the reasons we grow so much is because everybody and their dog knows about Camas, and they want to be here for the schools. They want to come to Camas and live here because of the schools. Hear that a lot, see that a lot, and it's not hard to recognize why. We really do have a great school district, and a lot goes on to see to it that we do take good care of the kids and the responsibility we have as drivers and educators. And so Camas is a great place. That's been here since 1955. I know what goes on yesterday, and I'm still trying to figure out what's going on today, but come tomorrow, I'll work on it then.
Don't you just love that, like that approach? Still trying to figure out what's going on today, but come tomorrow, I'll work on it then. And I think that's the approach, with our students. It's so important. And then last year we talked a lot about, we came back to the why, and I interviewed a lot of staff members and asked them about why they do what they do. You may recall from that video, if you were here, Candy Mitchner was in there, who's since retired. But just lots of words of wisdom also from our staff, and really focusing on this amazing gift that we get to serve students every day. So all of that has led up to kind of where we are now. A lot of hard work that you've done to get us to this position and to serve these kids that are showing up on Tuesday. And really, these are kind of compiled into some beliefs that, as a district, I believe that I see happen every day in your work and the reflection of what the students do. The first one is we believe our system can see each student and identify their unique strengths and needs. I think it's really important that we start with the unique strengths, because each of our kids have so many strengths. We believe that with the support our staff can build from and respond to each student's unique strengths and needs. We believe that if we hold ourselves accountable to equitable and inspirational learning outcomes, then, and this is written on many of your postcards, our students will graduate prepared for life's challenges and opportunities. Lifelong learners who are independent and motivated, compassionate, ethical, and contributing members of society. Every one of our 7,054 that are currently registered. So, as many of you know, I like to share kind of some personal stories, and they're usually about me looking like an idiot. And this summer didn't disappoint in that regard. There were many opportunities. This weekend, though, it was I had an opportunity to share some time with my son. And my son's 15, so we're learning how to drive. He's learning how to be an adult. It's an interesting journey. I know that many of you that are on that journey or have been on that journey. And for those of you also that when you fall in love with your kids at each age, and then you kind of grieve the stage that they're leaving, and then fall in love with them again at the next stage that they're entering. Sometimes it's easier to fall in love with them, sometimes it's more challenging. So I'll just show you a short clip. We were up at Mount Adams Saturday and Sunday.
So how are you feeling?
Scared.
Why are you scared?
Forward to my dad.
Is it? Oh, maybe it is. We got a long ways to go.
So, I don't know if you heard Stephen, but he said he was scared. He said he was scared he was going to fall to his death. So I wasn't going to let him fall to his death. But, we were kind of, I think, pushing the envelope for him and his level of comfort. But I know that one thing that's different as he gets older is that I don't have to push him as much. It's more about me putting on the brakes for him, which is interesting. And some of our students need us to push a lot, and other students need us to push the brakes for them, or at least pump them a couple times. So the story didn't happen on that clip. The story happened on the way down. We were getting towards the end, and if you remember last year, I shared a story of me cramping up and wallowing on the ground and incredible pain, and it was terrible. So this year, I'm taking it easy, making sure that I'm okay. I'm just following Stephen. And so as we're getting closer to the car, he says, Dad, there's 3 things that got me through today. Okay, what were those 3 things? I'm ready, right? Words of wisdom from Stephen. The first thing, Pop-Tarts. He said those Pop-Tarts make all the difference. The second thing, and when you're, as you know, when you're at the end of a long journey, it's kind of, you get a little emotional maybe or dramatic sometimes. And Stephen, I felt like, was getting that way. He said, the cleansing, healing powers of Glacier Springs was the second thing. And every time there was a little stream, he would take out his backpack and splash water on his face, and he'd be good for a little bit. And so now I'm hanging on the edge, I'm waiting for number 3 here, and he says, Patrick. And so, and this is where I was like, here's my connection, seeing and serving each student. So Patrick is this 28-year-old guy that looks like he's in amazing shape, a model perhaps. For those of you who know that Daniel Harvey gives the most incredible graduation speeches you've ever heard. If you ever get a chance to go to Hayes Freedom and listen to Daniel Harvey, you should do it. I could swear this guy was Daniel's younger brother. Every time we would intersect him on the trail, and he'd look at Stephen and say, man, you're doing great. Stephen, you are so amazing. You're going to make it. I was saying the same things, but it didn't seem to matter. And I don't know if you noticed in that video I showed at the end, Patrick was behind us and he was waving at us. And he just always seemed to be right there to give us, to lift Stephen up. He truly saw him and he served him on that mountain. And when we got into the car and we were talking about it again, and here's the intersection of Stephen between my wife and I. He says, Patrick was like one of those angels that gets sent on those Hallmark movies that Mom watches. He says, I know their purpose is usually to bring people together, fall in love and stuff, but Patrick's purpose was to get me up that mountain. I love Stephen. So, I mentioned at the beginning when I was stalling that we have a long tradition of a skit. And this year, I thought we were going to do a skit. I thought we were going to do a skit until a week and a half ago. And what happened is, we, the last couple of years, have been doing senior exit interviews. And many of you participated in those last year. And it's an amazingly powerful experience to interview our seniors and just talk about their experiences. These are some of the highlights that they said, and these aren't going to surprise you. These are things that you already know that kids appreciate about you. But after listening to those senior exit interviews and talking with the people who were participating in that, it really felt like we needed to do something a little different. Student voice is so powerful. They're just amazing. It's why we do what we do. And so after the senior exit interviews, I called Mr. Kelly at CHS and I asked him if he would be willing to meet with his drama class and talk about this idea of seeing and serving each student. And so he said, sure. And so we went to the class and we shared all this data with them and all the different student voices, and I said, I would love to hire you guys to put together something that would both challenge our staff and inspire them. They all chose to work in public education because they love you. So can you do that over the summer? And they said, yes, we would love to do that. And so over the summer, they took all the quotes, they composed a script, they came in and rehearsed. They were figuring it out this morning right before we started. And they had put together a production for you. And remember the goal here. I wanted them to challenge you and inspire you. Some of the things that they say, I haven't even seen the final production. They may hit you. They may hit you in a way that says, I've done that. I've made a difference. It may hit you in the other way. It says, I wonder if I haven't done that. Or I wonder if I have done that. Please don't take it as a personal thing. Take it as students talking about their education and take it from the perspective of how do we make this year the very best year we can make for our students. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the CHS drama team.
it's going to be great. So as you can see, today is college day, so hopefully everyone can be decked out in their favorite college. Tomorrow is Wacky Mismatch Day, so go ahead and find the craziest clothes and patterns and wear them all at once. Wednesday is Twin Day, so find your bestie and dress exactly like them. And then Thursday is Pie Day, so try to represent 3.14 however you can. Those who do will get a slice of pie at lunch. And Friday, of course, is Color Wars, so that's it for the announcements. I have a great day, and I hope to explore your spirit later on. Oh, and do not forget about the game on Friday. I hope to see you all there.
Those games always feel so crowded. There's so many people and so much noise. I'd rather be at home, you know, chilling out by myself. But Ty invited me to come, so maybe I'll give it another shot. I'm probably not gonna like it though.
I'm serious. You guys should go to the game. I'm gonna be fine. Hey! Justin, how's your soccer game last night? Heard you got a goal last minute. Hey. Well, it wasn't last minute, but we won. Hey, congrats! It was really close. Were you guys there? Oh, I couldn't make it. I had to study for an AP test.
Yeah, I had the same test.
It's fine, you guys. I feel like no one really comes out to support the girls. No way, that's not okay. You guys work just as hard. Girls' teams deserve just as much support as boys. Yeah, were you there? Well, I had work, and then I had college work, you know. It's whatever you guys do. I wish there were people out there. I mean, I go to the football games, I see the crowds all over, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I wish it was that way for everyone. Well, nothing is given. I mean, we have to work for it. And girls' sports have been killing it lately. Yeah! All over the world. More people are hearing of our success. And who knows, one day maybe Dallas will put their hats down at our games too. Yeah!
I can just see them all out there like, come on, Red, what are you doing? Get your head in the game, man!
I'm glad things are going to go for girls' teams. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Do you have a sportsman worksheet by any chance? Yeah, hold on, give me 1 second. Thank you. Hey, do you guys like that class? I love that class. I've been trying to find a place where I can really connect with people. I tried drama, but it wasn't really my thing. I don't know what I'm going to do once volleyball's over. Oh, it's great. It's like a second home when I'm there. What, like half the soccer team in it? It's got to be my favorite place. Yeah, it's like a little tight-knit community. My siblings. Speaking of family, my family's going to the game on Friday night, and I'll work concessions for Key Club. Are you guys going to be there? Yeah, I love going to football games. I love it. Some of the best times are when teachers and students can really connect with each other, you know? Same, but even though I don't have the best relationship with my family when I'm here or on the field, I'm home. Hey, Logan, can I actually spend the night at your house after the game? I just don't want to go home. Yeah, sure, let me take tomorrow. Okay, don't let the lunch monitor see if you can get okay, yeah, sure. You know that way. You're not that way.
You know, being around other people, it's great and everything, but sometimes it can just feel so awkward. It can be fun, I guess. Anyway, besides, it's good to stretch yourself. Seriously though, that twin day sounds like fun. We should all work something will be quadruplets.
What are you? I'm not.
It's okay. Every party needs a twin. That's why we invited you.
Oh, you guys are unbelievable. Honestly though, it seems like we just rehash the same spirit stuff over and over.
Well, okay, I'm an ASB, and we worked really hard to come up with these new events. It's not as easy as it seems.
Sorry. Didn't realize. Thinking about it now, I guess it would be pretty hard to think of so many events.
Seriously though, this school is getting big, so it's gotta be hard to bring everybody together. You know, I honestly like it here. I appreciate how we have it educationally in terms of athletics, but also the arts, band, choir, drama. There's photography too. I really like that.
You know, sports have a lot of involvement, but so do the arts. It's a really good community to be a part of.
Yeah, just look at the choir concert last night. The theater was completely full. It was so cool to get all that support. It made all the hard work worth it.
Yeah, I have a
goes into things like athletics, it can be hard to spend the time and energy that goes into things like choir or band.
If I had $1 for every hour I spent practicing the piano.
Or sketching the rough draft for a new art piece.
Or singing that one song over and over and over.
Yeah, we do work pretty hard, but it's great to get recognition for it.
We want to know that they care about us, we want to know that they have our backs.
Well, when I was working backstage.
Hey! Yeah, I hate you. What were you saying? Yeah, I didn't hear it. What did you say?
I was just saying how when I was working backstage at the musical, there were a lot of teachers out in the audience.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
So, twin day, huh?
Well, I think it'd be fun if we were twins.
Yeah, we are pretty much twins already.
Totally.
But hey, we heard that Adam finally asked out Maddie.
Gosh, it's about time. We've been back for weeks.
Yeah, and Maddie has liked him for so long. They're gonna be such a cute couple.
She's right. You will make a cute couple. But I don't know. You're all always so busy between practice and homework. I feel like I never get to see either of them anymore. I feel like not everyone will always look out for you. People will want to see you fail. At least that's what it feels like.
Wait, did he say we're having pie day?
Yeah.
Sweet! Finally, a relatable spirit day.
That reminds me, once you get on to question 12 of the last one.
Hey, is that the one where you have to use the law of cosine to find a distance?
Between the tree and the house, yeah.
I got 30 feet. Isn't that cheating?
Who cares? You're never going to use this in real life anyway.
But it takes away the competition that makes the grade system so effective.
In the real world, it's called collaboration. In school, it's called cheating.
How did you get 30 feet? I got 31. Are you sure you took into account the slope of the earth? Or does that not matter?
I got 31 too.
Who cares? It's 1 point.
Well, yeah, but what if all our questions are a point off? If I missed 23 more points in the homework category, my grade drops to an A-.
How do you know that?
Because I watched Skyward. Believe me, I know all my grades exactly.
I hate Skyward. I mean, it's nice to see our grades whenever we want, but Skyward makes life stressful. I'm constantly having to explain to my parents that I finished in the 7th, the teacher just hasn't posted again, or that there are no final grades until the test is through. My parents never believe me.
Yeah, I don't really care much about what my parents think, but I want to get to a really good school like MIT or Caltech or Harvard, so I need a 4.0. Especially since my ACT score was only 32.
32? Well, great job.
Only 32? Are you kidding me? Anybody would get crazy about having that. You're stressing out about it?
Yeah, because I care about my future.
But what's the point of just knowing things for the sake of knowing them? Why can't you just explain to me why something is important and then I'll work twice as hard?
Okay, sure. Of course we need to apply our knowledge and work together to overcome hurdles and think outside the box and all that. But I guess it feels like test scores are the most important. And not just standardized tests. Did you know that 80% of my science grade relies on how well I do on tests? I get 100% on participation and quizzes and on homework, but since I don't test well, I have a B in that class.
Well, a B, that's still good. I mean, that's passing. It's okay to fail sometimes as long as you know how to recover.
Seriously, aren't we here to learn things?
Well, yeah, we do, don't we? I didn't know any of these equations before this year, or, I didn't know anything about the applications of torque, or, oh, that chem lab yesterday was so interesting, I literally stayed up all night doing reflection activities.
Hey, you rolled an all-nighter too?
Yeah, 3rd time this year.
What's the point at the end of everything for people like me? Like, that's great and all that you know all that, but I want to be an attorney and I want to help people. What does trigonometry have to do to help me towards that?
Why don't we just drop out?
Are you kidding? I mean, I really like school, don't get me wrong, it's just, I feel like it could be more personalized, you know? Like, maybe I could actually get to know some of my fellow students in like smaller learning groups or something. It's been getting really crowded and it's really hard to get lost in the system.
That's true, I guess. Now here's my question. Why do teachers always tell us to work harder and do better and be smarter and then never reward us when we do? I mean, you miss an assignment, you get detention, you ace a test. Congratulations, you're average. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my teachers, but it would be nice to be recognized every once in a while.
Well, yeah, the teachers here are amazing, especially those who are, flexible and understanding and care about us as equal instead of numbers. I remember I had an elementary teacher that way, and she made all the difference. I guess I do see what you mean about that rewards thing. Sometimes it feels like there's this overwhelming drive that you need to do something productive. But I don't want to be productive just for the heck of it.
Says the girls who just told us she spent all night learning about molecular bonding.
Okay, fair point.
Michael? Where's Michael? Oh God, Michael isn't here today. Everyone's staring. Why is everyone staring? Stop staring! Look, I know my shirt has holes in it. I know. Stop staring. What am I doing? Maybe I'll sit. No. Definitely not there. I think I've lost my appetite.
Hey, you look lost. This school can feel big.
Yeah, especially if you're an introvert.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just need one person to make you feel like you belong. I'm him. You look familiar. You go to elementary school? You have a...
Here. Computer freeze, yeah.
Oh, hey, yeah, everybody, this is Lucas.
I just need to turn it.
Everyone always made me feel like they were important, but they really weren't.
My counselor was my lifeline.
The school wants me to thrive. It felt different with one student gone. I don't have the best relationship with my family, but when I'm here or on the field, I'm home. Girls' sports deserve just as much support as boys.
I get to school over 45 minutes early and then sleep in my car so I can park and be on time. Students want to be held accountable for people to care about them and to work with them to overcome whatever the situation is.
I'm not a number, I'm a person.
How amazing is that? I'm really unsure how you take like hundreds of pages of data and turn it into something as creative and powerful as that. But I've learned one thing in my 22 years of public education, that whenever you involve students and whatever you're doing, it's way better. So if we could have the house lights on again, what I would ask you to do is, I set that up with that it's not meant to criticize or to think in the past. It's really meant to inspire and challenge us as we move forward. And maybe in one of those quotes or one of those scenes, you either saw yourself or your own kids, or you recognize one of the students you serve. And so I ask that you, number one, just think about it for a minute. Think about why the students here chose to raise up what they did. And then after you've thought about that for a little minute, I would ask that you turn to somebody sitting next to you and just talk about what it meant for you. What does it mean for our year? Maybe it just reinforces what you were already thinking about or what you already do. Or maybe it challenges you to think differently about some of the things that we fall into the patterns of doing, not because we're bad at anything, but just because it's a really busy job that we do. We serve a lot of kids. And to really think about each of our 7,000 plus is a great challenge. So think for a minute to yourself, and then when you're ready, just talk to somebody next to you about this performance and what it meant to you. Tell somebody about something that either I want to do or I want to think about. It holds me a little more accountable to the things that I'm thinking about. If I just keep it up in my head, it doesn't necessarily translate into anything different from me. So I appreciate that you were willing to talk with somebody else about that production. One of the greatest things I love about my job is I get to observe you in action. Like, it's truly a gift. Like, have you ever had that experience where you're in the classroom and you just nail it? And you're like, did anybody just see that? Like, nobody saw it. And you try to recreate that for your spouse and, like, it doesn't play, right? So I get to see that. And watching Mr. Kelly work with those students was a gift. Like, he's an amazing educator. He represents all of what you do all the time. And those kids, like, just their insight and thoughtfulness, that line about the competitiveness of grading and how it motivates everyone, like, I just, like, yeah, I never really thought about that, but it really didn't motivate me all that much, but this is wonderful. So again, if we could give a round of applause to Mr. Kelly. So as we thought about the experience that we wanted to create for you and the energy that we wanted you to leave with to welcome our students, I talked a lot about challenging and inspiring. And we have a number of staff, your colleagues, that have been working since May, June around preparing a follow-up session to this, to really giving you more opportunities to just think about the student experience and how you can support students along their journey. And so at this time, if I could have everyone that was a part of that See and Serve team that's going to be facilitating shortly, please stand up. Don't leave yet, but please stand up. We can give them a round of applause. And so these folks are really putting themselves out there. Really, we don't have any answers. That's our secret in Camas. We don't have any answers. We just keep asking questions. And this group is just asking questions about how their practices might affect students. And they're wanting to extend that conversation to you. And so as you came in today, on the back of your postcard, there's a room number. And you're going to have the opportunity to go and work with these people and have this conversation. And the conversation is just really our outcomes of number one is just to think about culture and all the things that go into culture. What does that mean? And how does it affect what and who we see in our students? So that's the first thing that we're hoping that this conversation allows us to do. And then the second part is just to spark people, to ignite you, and to think about how you see yourself in this story. of serving every student in our district, each student in our district. So it's going to be a great opportunity. Please go easy on your facilitators. Remember, they're preparing for their start of the school year too, and in addition, they chose to put themselves out here and to support your professional learning as well. So I know you'll be very gracious and kind to them. We want more people that want to do that work. Some logistical kinds of things. First of all, if you came in today, there was an opportunity to sign in at the front, and there's clock hours, and then also you just need to sign in. And so if you didn't get a chance to do that on your way in, those sign-in stations will still be out there. You're welcome to sign in at any point during the day. And then if you don't get a chance here, those sign-in sheets will go back with principals and secretaries to your building. And so just make sure at some point today, with whatever activities, you do get a chance to sign in. It is such a privilege to serve you as your superintendent. Like, I'm just humbled every day to see the work that you do for kids, to see it as a father, to hear about it as a community member, to watch it, like I talked about with Mr. Kelly. It makes a difference. And I know we talked about, when I showed the slide of the flooding, and it feels like sometimes in our world it's really, really challenging. I wonder about the world that my kids will be adults in. And I'm pretty sure that you do too. It's not a new worry. Every generation has felt that. And every generation has had people like you that have stepped up and made a difference. I can't thank you enough for in advance for the work that you do. I also know that each year we stand here with hopes that we're going to see and serve all of our students. Each year we lose one or two. Why? Why does that happen? Is it just life? Or can we do something about it? So when you see your kids, we're going to challenge you this year. Not because you haven't done a good job. You've done an amazing job. The job's just hard. And we need to ask more of you. We need you to think about how can you notice the kid that isn't being noticed. We need to think about when the kid's being difficult, why are they really being difficult? I'm so excited for the work that you're going to do this year. Thank you. One more logistical thing before we leave. Like I'm building you up, right? So after, traditionally, we have a nice grand finale here, and many of you know about that grand finale. If you're a CEA member, then I ask you to please stay. Mr. Gardner has a couple of short announcements for you. The room assignments, if you need any help and you can't find your postcard or you need a postcard, just look for any of us and we'll make sure that you get to that place. We'll be in those sessions for about an hour or so. And then after that, CEA will be back in the auditorium here for their general membership meeting. And lunch it will be served out in the commons. And our lunch is provided to us by KAOP and CEA, so thank you very much, KAOP and CEA. And all are welcome, so we're really grateful for that, and it's a good time to just connect with each other. And then after that, there'll be some time, and then based on your own school schedules, that's when our activities will start, but none of them are starting before 1 p.m. So I'm wondering if they're ready. Derek, do you know if they're ready? Are they ready, Mr. Morris? They're working on it.
Thank you.